G'day beautiful people, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be taking a look at a build that I rather like for Aurora. It's kind of the same as a build I used to use a long time ago when Aurora was in probably her best spot towards when she first came out. Although it used to be a intellect or knowledge and death build, so now it is actually a chaos and death build, so we switched it up. Oh, that's not the button that I wanted to press. So we switched up a little bit. Alright, so we'll go over the cards. I will go over the gems. We'll talk about the potential builds that I have within this deck and anything you might want to replace. So to start off with, we have Tireless Reaper. Your next ability costs 35% less to cast. I have this just so that I have a little bit more of a mana pool towards the start of the game, because I do like to go into intellect to start off with for reasons that we'll get into in a moment. I then have Nitro Boost just so that I can keep up with people. I tend to not go too heavy into the agility for quite a while on this build. I normally only go 2 so that I can get Amplification Engineer, but an extra 1 is not bad for Nitro Boost. Just makes a slippery hero even slipperier, and makes it easier to chase people down. And we have Possessed Spraken because it's a death build, and oh my god, Possessed Spraken. But if you are going to use her in the off lane, which is going to be tough these days, because she is the only off laner that got nerfed, which is just retarded, makes life hard for her, then Possessed Spraken is there for you if you want it. We also have Invader Mage. It's not going to make a huge difference on someone like Aurora, but it is there just to curve the deck so you have something to go into before you get any of the endgame cards, because they are all quite expensive. Then we have Veil Stepper. It is for agility and to vitality. So as I said, I don't tend to go too much into agility, but if I was playing off lane, I would probably want to go for this card if I wasn't running Spraken. If you're running Spraken, you don't need to really worry about it, but it can still be great with Spraken because it's going to take you up to over 18 health regen, plus your passive health regen that you get per level, and it makes it even slipperier again because every time you go through the Shadow Plane wall, Fog Wall, you'll enter the Shadow Plane, so it makes it very, very slippery. It's an amazing card on Aurora. Then we have Thorned Yomi, one of the potential endgame cards. It's going to return 65% of damage taken for 4 seconds. It can be very, very good on Aurora, especially if you're trying to get into ult, but with one of the cards we're going to go over in a second, that's not going to be too much of an issue. And then we have Numbing Rogue. This is another kind of... it's another card that's kind of in there just to scale the deck towards another card, which would be Red Zone if you're intending to get Red Zone. Numbing Rogue's pretty bloody decent card. Now the passive to reduce nearby enemy units attack speed by 20% may not sound very great, but it comes with 300 health and 36 basic armor. 36 basic armor is massive, and on someone like Aurora, it's going to help her to get towards that 100 basic armor mark where you will receive 50% damage mitigation. The main card for this deck, or one of the 2 main cards of this deck, is going to be Shadow Dancer. It is quite expensive. It's going to give you 18 power, 24 basic attack speed, but more importantly, it's going to allow you to enter the Shadow Plane and get a bit of a movement speed buff so that you can get in there and make sure you're ulting as many people as humanly possible. It's a very, very good card on someone like Countess and someone like Aurora. Then we have Amplification Engineer. This is the other main card of the build. After casting an ability, damage nearby enemy heroes equal to 12% of their current health. Considering you're going to be invis with Shadow Dancer, and then ulting hopefully the whole group, that is up to 60% current health being taken off of the team. 12% off of each, but technically 12% off of a hero. Each hero adds up to 60% if you're being retarded and grouping that up like I am. It's a very, very strong card right now. It's stupidly strong. It didn't really need a buff, but it did get a buff. So on someone that is going to be invis and letting off an ability, and then potentially letting off some more, because what I tend to do is I go in, I ult, And then if I start to feel a bit of burst, I will flip out. That's another stack of unstable spells being procced. And then when you Hoarfrost, there's another one. So you know you're going to get a couple off, and it's free damage on someone whose damage isn't that great right now. Then we have Awaken the Emmerich. This is one of my potential end game cards. It's going to give you some health regen, mana, and power, and also allow you to convert enemy minions. This is what I would use as an offlaner. As an offlaner, I would probably go for Shadow Dancer with Awaken the Emmerich, and then maybe Amplification Engineer, but considering you are an offlaner and you're coming in late to fights, I'd probably actually go for Red Zone. Then we have Plague Lord Malink. Nearby enemy heroes have Blight and movement speed slow aura. This is what I would use alongside Shadow Dancer and Amplification Engineer if I was running support. It is another reason why this build is very, very expensive, because that support build would then be 25 intellect, 8 vitality, and 2 agility. So it's going to take you a while to be able to get any of the full game builds on this unless you're actually an offlaner. And then we have Red Zone. Very expensive card. It's going to cost you 25 pips altogether, 8 into each. But it's very, very strong. Nearby heroes both deal and receive 50% bonus damage. If you can manage to get Shadow Dancer and Red Zone, and you get in and you ult the entire enemy team while your team is ready to push in, that is massive, because they're going to be getting frozen, copping a whole boatload of damage. You can easily, with this card and a team that is ready to jump in, you can easily wipe a couple of the enemy team members out, quick smart, and then move on to the rest of them before their tanks are able to do any sort of peeling. So that's all the cards. Hopefully that wasn't too confusing. We'll go back over it in a second. As far as gems go, on this build, we'll start with Vitality. I actually go for Healing Towers, just in case I'm in the off lane and I don't want to take Spriken, because I try to avoid taking Spriken as much as I can, and Damage Return at our tier 13. And then all the rest are in Intellect. We have Onslaught, reduce your cooldowns by 0.2 seconds when you land a basic attack. You really want to get our cooldowns reduced as much as humanly possible. Then we go for Deadly Mana. It's going to be very good when you're playing offlane. If you're not intending on playing offlane, I would probably swap this out and go for something else, because you're not going to be getting the last hits, so you're not going to be proccing much of Deadly Mana. I could probably recommend that you go for the tier 6 Vitality gem, which is damage reduction. The third gem in here is Mana Fountain, regen up to 10 mana per second based on missing mana. That's just to make sure we have enough for ults and getaways and stuff like that. And then Spell Shield is very, very important on an Aurora, because she is very easy to take out of her ultimate. She takes a little while to get it up and going, and any sort of stun by someone like Narbash or a pull off of Grux is going to be quick enough to get you out of it. So they're the gems that I take. So the main build that I like to run on this, as I stated before, is Shadow Dancer and Amplification Engineer. Any of these different builds that I have within this deck are only going to be really 2 cards, because I'm not expecting anyone to have enough pips to be able to buy Shadow Dancer, Amplification Engineer, and Red Zone, because that is 25 intellect, it is 12 vitality, and it's 10 into agility. So that's what, 47 points spent, which is a whole shit lot, and you're not going to get that. So we're classing it as 2 cards and then whatever you have money for. So if you were to go for, say, Shadow Dancer and Amplification Engineer, and then you wanted to work for Red Zone, you could easily just pop something like Nitro Boost on until you had enough for something like Veil Stepper, and then switch it up for maybe Thorn Diomi, you know, anything to get you there. The other build would be Shadow Dancer, Amplification Engineer, and Awaken the Emmerich, but you could easily swap Amplification Engineer out for Red Zone if you wanted to. And then as a support, I would try more than likely just to go for Shadow Dancer and Plague Lord Malink. But you can mess about with any of these groups of cards. Pretty much Shadow Dancer, I recommend that you definitely take it It helps Aurora out so much. Red Zone, if you can afford it, is very, very strong if your team is ready to go in. Amplification Engineer is super fun to have on because you know, you want to get as much damage out while you're doing those abilities, because a lot of the time she's kind of frozen in place, so you want to be dealing damage while you're potentially about to cop some hits. Awaken the Emmerich is a very, very good offlaner card. Still to this day, very, very good offlaner card. If you can flip waves and get them to push and then group for team fights, it's amazing, and Plague Lord Malik is just good. So that's all the cards, guys. That's the little bit of talk about gems and what I'd potentially go for. I don't want this video to go for too much longer, so I'm going to leave it at that. But like I said, just remember that this is a very expensive set of cards. So you're going to have to switch up the things that you decide that you want. But just try to make sure you get a bit of Shadow Dancer on Aurora, because it can be instrumental in changing the swing of a game, and just grab you an instant team fight by allowing you to get in and ult an unsuspecting team. But that has been my kind of old school build. It's not quite my old school build, but it's an old schoolish way to run Aurora. So I hope you like it. If you do, smash the thumbs up button. Make sure you give it a try, and if you do, let me know in the comment section down below what you thought. If you have any questions whatsoever, if anything wasn't unclear, please don't hesitate to ask me a question in the comment section down below. Don't be that douchey guy that just goes, "This makes no sense, I don't understand what you're saying." If you don't understand, ask me a question and I will answer it for you. If that wasn't too douchey for you, subscribe for more Paragon content. With that said, thank you so much for watching. I love your face, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.